My name is Jessica Miller, and I live in Austin, Texas. I never thought the words I spoke one evening would completely shatter the life I had built over more than a decade. Looking back now, I wish I could swallow those words before they ever left my mouth, but life doesn't give us a rewind button. Sometimes, we only realize the weight of what we've said when silence falls heavier than any scream, and the person you thought would always be by your side turns their back and leaves. It all started with what seemed like an ordinary day. My husband Daniel and I had been married for 12 years. We met in college when we were both still figuring out who we were. He was a quiet, kind man with a heart so big it could hold everyone's burdens. I was the dreamer, the one who wanted excitement, the one who always had her eyes set on something bigger, brighter, and louder than what I had in front of me. Daniel grounded me. He was stability, safety, and loyalty personified. Together, we built a family. We had 2 kids, a boy named Ethan, now 10, and a girl named Lily, who had just turned 7. Our life was simple: a suburban home, school runs, soccer practices, family movie nights, barbecues with neighbors. From the outside, people often told us we looked like the perfect family. But behind closed doors, perfection wasn't the word I would have used. The truth was, somewhere along the line, I stopped seeing Daniel as the man I fell in love with. Bills, stress, parenting, work. All of it made me see him less as a partner and more as a coworker in this exhausting job called life. He was reliable, yes, but predictable. Loving, yes, but not exciting. And I, in my foolishness, mistook predictability for being unloved, mistook quiet strength for weakness. I had been carrying frustration inside me for months. I compared him, unfairly, to people I saw online, to the husbands of my friends who took their wives on surprise vacations, who bought flowers on random Tuesdays, who seemed to sparkle in ways Daniel didn't. Instead of appreciating the countless ways he showed love, fixing my car, making sure my coffee was ready before I left for work, staying up late with the kids so I could rest, I began to think he didn't really love me. One evening, the dam finally broke. It was a Thursday night. The kids had already gone to bed, and the house was quiet except for the hum of the dishwasher. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, still wearing his work shirt, his sleeves rolled up, exhaustion written all over his face. He had worked a double shift at the hospital where he served as a nurse. His eyes looked tired, but when I walked into the kitchen, he smiled at me the same way he always did, as though just seeing me gave him a reason to breathe. But instead of softening me, that smile irritated me. I don't even know why. Maybe it was the weight of everything I'd been bottling up. Maybe it was the resentment I'd allowed to grow unchecked. I sat across from him and, without even thinking, I said the words that would destroy everything. "You know, Daniel," I muttered, "sometimes I feel like you're just the father of my kids." Nothing more. The words hung in the air like smoke. I didn't realize how cruel they were until I saw his face. His smile disappeared instantly. His eyes, once warm, turned hollow in seconds. He looked at me as though I had just taken a knife to the very core of his being. He didn't shout. He didn't argue. He didn't slam his fist against the table the way some men might have. He just sat there, motionless, and his face went numb. The silence that followed was unbearable. Then, without a word, he pushed back his chair, stood up slowly, and walked away. I heard his footsteps fade down the hallway, the sound of our bedroom door opening and then closing softly. That was it. No fight. No questions. No accusations. Just silence. At first, I was angry at his silence. I wanted him to fight me, to argue, to somehow prove me wrong. But instead, he left me alone at that table, with nothing but the echo of my own cruelty. And in that silence, a realization began to creep into my heart. I had just hurt the one person who never deserved it. The next morning, he was gone before I woke up. Usually, he left a note or made me coffee, but that day there was nothing. The kids asked where Dad was, and I forced a smile, saying he had left early for work. But deep down, I knew something had shifted. Something inside him had broken, and I was the one who had broken it. Days turned into weeks, and things only grew colder. Daniel still came home, still played with the kids, still did his duties as a father, but with me, he was distant. Conversations were minimal, polite, and practical. There was no laughter, No warmth, no lingering touches. The man who once adored me now looked at me as though I were a stranger. And I couldn't blame him. After all, I had reduced him to nothing more than the father of my kids. The truth I came to realize was that Daniel had been so much more than that. He was the one who stayed up with me all night when I had fevers. He was the one who worked double shifts so I could quit my job for a while to stay home with the kids when they were little. He was the one who drove 2 hours in the middle of the night when my car broke down, never once complaining. He was the one who remembered every little thing about me, from the way I liked my coffee to the fact that thunderstorms scared me. And what had I done? I had erased all of that with one thoughtless sentence. One night, about a month after I'd said those words, Daniel came home late. I was sitting on the couch waiting for him, rehearsing an apology I wasn't even sure he'd accept. He walked in, looked at me briefly, then headed straight for the kids' room to kiss them goodnight. When he finally came back to the living room, I tried to speak. Daniel, I didn't mean what I said that night. I was angry, frustrated. You're not just the father of my kids. You're so much more. My voice broke, tears streaming down my face. He stood there, listening, but his eyes were still unreadable. When I finished, he simply nodded. I hear you, Jessica, he said softly. But some words can't be unheard. Some wounds don't heal just because you say you're sorry. Then he went upstairs, leaving me shattered. Weeks later, I woke up one Saturday to find his side of the closet empty. His clothes, his shoes, even his watch box gone. There was a note on the dresser. It read, I'll always be here for Ethan and Lily. But I can't stay in a place where I'm just a role and not a person. I deserve to be loved for who I am, not just for what I provide. I sank to the floor, clutching that note, realizing the full weight of my mistake. Today, I live with regret. I'm raising the kids with him co-parenting from another home. He's still the amazing father he always was. But the husband I once had, the partner who would have loved me until his last breath, is gone. And I lost him not because he stopped loving me, but because I failed to cherish him. If you're listening to this, let my story be a warning. Don't ever reduce the people you love to a title, a role, or a responsibility. See them. Value them. Love them for everything they are. Because once words are spoken, they can't be taken back. And sometimes, silence is the loudest goodbye you'll ever hear.